Next is Alan Eisele, who, as I said earlier, was the first drum major with Jimmy Hawkins after Mr. Calabrese's arrival during 1961-62.
I tell you, I was just kind of laughing myself when Dick Miller was coming up here because it brought back a memory of him as well, because I noticed that he was walking up just like he used to do in front of us in the auditorium over here in that grade. You could hear a pin drop out here. And all it took was that glare. You know, this night has really been a long, long time coming. And I'm glad to see that it's here. And I just want to thank Barry Gordon for his leadership in getting this thing together. You know, Barry's third generation of a family that has given a great deal of leadership and generosity to the people of Statesville. And I just want y'all to know that he and his cousins in that third generation are continuing that tradition. And I, for one, appreciate that very much. You know, when Jim and Mavis pulled into Statesville in that summer of 1961 in brand new station wagon, I think he never said this, but I think he must have been coming because he needed a new challenge. Jim was leaving Statesville, Virginia, where he had been there, I think 3 years or 5 years, and built a nationally recognized band. And Statesville, Virginia was totally sad to lose him. And in terms of the challenge, he certainly had that, as Mr. Miller alluded to. I think in the summer, in the football season of 1960, the previous fall, the Greyhound marching band fielded about 25 pieces, as a matter of fact. And a lot of the kids who had started band in 4th grade, like myself and some others who are here tonight, had just become disenchanted with the band and had dropped out. I stayed with it through 10th grade, but I dropped out of the 11th. So when Jim got here in that summer, he got a list of all those kids, and he started calling us on the telephone and making appointments for us to come into the band room up here and talk to him individually, most of us individually. And a lot of us kids went and sat down with him, and he sort of told us what he had in mind, what he would like to do, and who he was with this band. And he would surely like for us to come back in and work with him to make a band for this alma mater of ours. And so many of us were impressed with him and what his ideas were that a lot of us did come back in. And in fact, now, memory doth run us to the contrary sometimes, but this is my recollection. If yours is different, that's fine. But I believe that we fielded, to start football season that year of 1961, 80 pieces in our band. Now, not all of those people were playing the horns they were carrying, that's for sure. But they were there, and they were committed, because Jim had already inspired us to try to do the things that he wanted us to do. I say they were committed. There were times when we thought maybe Jim should have been committed. Because he started talking to us about things about which we had never heard, like herald trumpets and flugelhorns, flagpole. He even wanted to put timpani drums on a cart and pull it around the football field. Who'd ever heard of such a thing? And he wanted 2 drum majors. Now I've got that one figured out. He had a kid in the band named Jimmy Hawkins who had just come here from Virginia. And Jimmy was very talented. He could high step it, and he could really do a showmanship type of thing as the type of drum major that Jim wanted. I had been here all my life, of course, and I knew all the kids. So he chose to have 2 drum majors, and I think perhaps on my best day, that he thought maybe I could have some influence over the kids if he could get me to work them. But over the years, I came to realize, it took me a lot of years to realize this, that the real reason he chose me as one of his drum majors was that he had heard me play my trumpet. And drum majors don't play trumpets, do they, Jim? But I tell people, everybody that mentions the band to me, for my whole adult life, I tell them that my claim to fame and my greatest sense of pride in my youth is that I was one of Jim Calabrese's first two drum majors his first year in Statesville, and I mean that sincerely. Now, Jim, there was another thing that Jim brought to us, and I'm just going to give you a little history because it was his first year. He told us about the Coldstream Guard. We had no idea what that was. I guess it's Her Majesty's Guard, and they had these red and black uniforms and these big bearskin hats, and we didn't know what it was, but he showed us a picture of it. So we got it. We were smart. And he got those leaders that Costi and Mr. Miller were talking about in the school system and in the city government and so forth, and some of the local businessmen. Mr. L.A. Parks, I think, was one of those. And he got them behind him to try to raise the funds to do these things that he wanted to do. And he had a big meeting over here in Matt Gray Auditorium. And the members of the community came. And Jim got up there and laid out his program. And one of the things that he did was he said, I want to get some new uniforms for my band. Because I want you just to see the conditions of these old military-style blue and gray uniforms. And he held some of the pieces of those uniforms up. Now, the statute of limitations is run on this, but that afternoon, and I'm not sure that Jim even knew about this, that afternoon, there were several of us who spent some time in the uniform room making sure that those blue and gray uniforms were as dilapidated as he was hoping they would be. Did you know that, Jim? Johnny Holland knows it. Tommy Flower knows it. But the statute of limitations has run on it. And Jim did get the community behind him. And the main thing that he did was he inspired us kids. He really and truly related to us in ways that made us want to do the things that he wanted us to do. If you could do something to get Jim Calabrese's approval, you felt better about yourself. You really and truly did. They talk about building self-esteem today. You do it. You build that with kids when you have the talent to relate to them the way that Mr. Calabrese had. And I think we all see that today. You also did not want to get Mr. Calabrese's ire, because from Pittsburgh, he was tough, and he would bring you that uncle, I think. But you just did not want to do anything to make him be disapproved of you. Because that made you feel bad about yourself. It made you feel that you had let him down. And there were a couple of things that he was particularly sincere about. One is, don't get caught smoking on the bus. And another is, don't get caught peeing and cheating on the bus. Because if you wanted his ire, those are two things that could certainly get it for you. And I don't know anybody who really did either of those two. But Jim, I want to say to you personally, and very, very honestly and sincerely, that my experience with you as a kid growing up had tremendous effects on my life. It truly did. And I'll put you right up there with your good friend, Alan Eisele, who also had that kind of influence. Mr. Miller did too, but he was kind of scared to death. And I heard stories. I would love to have been a fly on the wall when you and Al Archibald and Jack Miller were sitting in the room talking about anything. But thank you. And I'm glad this night is here. I know you don't like surprises, but you know, you probably wouldn't have come if you were not. So. And I want to say one more thing. Not only Jim, did you have, and I'm sure still do, a tremendous talent for relating to young people and motivating them to be the best that we can be. But I heard you blow your saxophone, and I heard you blow your clarinet, and I would like to say that I'm no expert. You're also one hell of a musician. Thank you. Well, listen, Costi thinks I talked a little bit too long, but the truth is our class of 1962 was the foundation for the Grenadiers, and we're just proud to be that. Barry asked me to read these two letters from members of our class. Ike Pope and Gail Pope were thrilled about honoring Jim and excited about the prospect of attending, but they couldn't, unfortunately, and had to be someplace else. And please give him the best and let him know that they plan to be here, and the unforeseen situation is preventing them from being so, but they wish you all the best, Jim, and thank you. And this is from Mary Frances Cole. Congratulations on the evening with the Grenadiers. We love you. You've been an inspiration to us all. I was there when you arrived and they were selling candy to be able to purchase uniforms. Boy, were we sharp. I hope to see you at our 50th reunion in 2013. Thank you so much, Costi.
Thank you, Alan.